the most underrated young cores in the NBA. Aside from the Charlotte Hornets, they're all struggling to win games right now, but once their talent develops, you're about to find out why these organizations could be on top. Only around 12% of you watching this video right now are subscribed, so if you're looking for consistent NBA hot takes, you definitely came to the right place. Quick commenter shout out to Samto, who says Chris Paul is a top 5 point guard ever and a top 10 point guard in the NBA. Houston's been driving the biggest tank job in the NBA this year. They lost 20 straight games from February the 6th to March 21st, the 8th worst single losing streak in the history of the NBA. However, with the cast of talent they've acquired from many different trades, they have an extremely bright future. Every player in their young core was given up on at one time or another, none more significantly than Christian Wood. The Pistons made a very confusing move by letting Christian Wood walk to Houston on a 3-year, $41 million contract, while instead inking Mason Plumlee to a 3-year deal. And Detroit has to be regretting every single dollar they didn't spend on Christian, as he's been one of the premier big men in the NBA ever since Houston gave him the opportunity. Wood's been one of 4 players in the NBA to average 20 points, 10 rebounds on 50% shooting from the field. The other 3 players, they're all MVP candidates: Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Joel Embiid. Up next, Kelly "Goat" Olynyk. While he's not a young player, I had the urge to include him in here because he has been electric since joining the Rockets. Olynyk's averaged 19 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists on 59, 38, and 88 splits since coming to H-Town. While the Rockets haven't gotten the W's, Kelly's been amazing, and I hope the Rockets keep him paired next to Wood because their chemistry is on point. Jae'Sean Tate's been the do-it-all rook that every team longs for, as he plays great defense and makes winning plays. He's been at the top of the rookie ladder for most of the year, and for good reason. Kenyon Martin Jr. and Kevin Porter Jr. both came up from the G League and have had electrifying performances since being called up. Just earlier this week, KJ Martin had an 18-point outing against the Denver Nuggets, while Kevin Porter Jr. became the youngest player of all time to record 50 points and 10 assists in a game against Milwaukee. After a rocky start in Cleveland, Porter Jr.'s broke out in Houston and has been the perfect fit running their offense. So the baby Harden comparisons are looking pretty good right now. Since the Detroit Pistons have an underdeveloped core of players, they were clowned this past offseason for giving Jeremy Grant a 3-year, $60 million contract. I'm not saying they're ready to compete for a title in the next few seasons, but here's why fans in Motown could see their team develop into a contender throughout this decade. They absolutely won the 2020 NBA draft by getting 3 future studs in Killian Hayes, Isaiah Stewart, and Sadiq Bey. Bey's been the 4th leading scorer among rookies, and given he was picked down at number 19, he's proven he was drafted too late. He's the only rookie in the 2020 draft class to have won a Player of the Week award. He won that award back in mid-February when he averaged 18 and 6 en route to leading the Pistons to a 3-1 record. He's not the only Pistons rookie that's showing out though. Beef Stew, aka Isaiah Stewart, has been, believe it or not, the best center among all rookies this year. The 250-pound 5-man had the paint on lock while Mason Plumlee missed time with injury, and since the beginning of March, Stewart's logged 10 and 8 and a block on 60% shooting from the field and 46% from 3. And just watching this rookie, he plays like he's 7'3", but he's actually undersized for a center, standing at only 6'8". Unfortunately, the Pistons' number 7 overall pick Killian Hayes hasn't had the best of rookie seasons. Hayes was drafted as high as he was for a reason, and the future still looks very bright for him despite his struggles. Since coming back from his torn hip labrum, Hayes has been trying to find his groove with the Pistons again, but for any rookie to go through that must be physically and mentally taxing. Let's give him some time before we write him off as a bust. But for the former lottery pick Josh Jackson and former slam dunk champ Hamidou Diallo, they've both had massive games for the Pistons this year. On April Fool's Day, Josh Jackson put up 31 points in a blowout win over the Washington Wizards on March 29th, Diallo had 19 points and 10 rebounds against the Raptors in a win, and when these players show up to play, the Pistons are a dangerous team, so they're only going to get stronger as time goes on. The Charlotte Hornets have been one of the biggest feel-good stories this year. Their commentators have been electric.
Bridges! Oh my God! Oh, what? Here comes Lamelo Ball with his hair on fire.
Maybe the Charlotte hype train has been fueled by the internet sensation Lamelo Ball, but this deep Hornets team is so much more than their prized rookie. Starting off with the 34th overall pick of the 2018 draft, Devontae Graham, who had an MIP-level campaign last season, nearly quadrupling his output on a nightly basis. He jumped from averages of 4 points per game in his rookie year all the way up to averages of 18 points per game and 7 assists in his second year. With Charlotte's influx of talent with the signings like Gordon Hayward and draft picks like Lamelo Ball, Devontae's taken a step back in terms of his role this season, but he's still one of the most lethal 3.2 guards in the NBA. On nearly 9 3-point attempts per game, Graham's making a solid 37.4% of them. Miles Bridges has been a human highlight reel night in, night out, and you can expect a massive poster dunk from Miles the Monster on any given night. But Miles Bridges is more than just a dunker. For the last month, Miles Bridges has been creating shots off the dribble and scoring at all 3 levels at a very high rate. With Lamelo Ball and Gordon Hayward being out with injuries since March 28th, Bridges has averaged over 18 points and 7 boards per game. In my opinion, Bridges has all-star written all over him in the near future, but I don't see him getting the respect he deserves. As for the other 3 players who make up this core, PJ Washington's a small ball 5 who can space the floor out and splash triples with ease. That's been evident ever since his NBA debut, when he set the record for the most 3-pointers by a rookie in their first game with 7. His second season has seen him shoot nearly 40% from distance. Meanwhile, if you've owned Malik Monk in fantasy, then you know what types of games this guy is capable of going for. Malik's had some absolutely stunning performances off the bench for the number 8 seeded Hornets. The Kentucky product is built for the moment, as he put up a career-high 36 points against the Eastern Conference champion Miami Heat. In their next game with the Heat a month later, he came back to Miami to post 32 points on 70% shooting. Monk also put up 21 and dropped a game-winning layup to beat the Sacramento Kings. Finally, Jalen McDaniels hasn't been given much opportunity in Charlotte, being the third-string power forward for most of the year, but since he's been given a chance, he's taken full advantage of it. So between all of those players, Charlotte has a very nice young core. Moving on to the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have been really struggling in the post-LeBron era. The Cavs have finished at the bottom of their division every season since King James led them to the finals. However, in the rebuild since LeBron's left, even though they haven't seen it come to fruition with victories quite yet, the Cavs front office have quietly developed a feisty young team with a ton of potential. In the 2018 draft, GM Kobe Altman took Colin Sexton number 8 out of Alabama, and come his second campaign, the young bull was already averaging an efficient 21 points per contest. Now in year 3, Collins exploded onto the scene by putting up over 24 points per night on insanely efficient shooting splits. Proving he's poised under the bright lights, Sexton spoiled the debut of the Brooklyn Nets' Big Three by dropping 42 points against the Nets, while scoring on literally every single play down the stretch. In 2019, the Cavs picked Darius Garland, a relative mystery given he barely played in college due to a knee injury. In his rookie season, Garland was the worst player in the NBA according to multiple advanced metrics, and people were quick to label him a bust. But this year, he's been one of the most improved players across the league. His field goal percentage is up 5%, and his three-point percentage is up to 39%, which is an elite mark for any player. The 21-year-old's also been in rare air this season, as only 3 players this year have averaged 17 points per game along with 6 assists while shooting better than 37% from 3. The 3 players are 2 MVP candidates in Nikola Jokic and Damian Lillard, while the third is Darius Garland. Then, in 2020, was the future-driven Cavs' third consecutive draft hit as they brought in Isaac Okoro, who's been the best defensive rookie in the NBA by a wide margin, and it looks like he can be a Marcus Smart-type perimeter stopper. Jarrett Allen and Isaiah Hartenstein are two big men that the Cavs picked up via midseason trade, and both have been exceptional. The former Net Jarrett Allen has been one of the premier shot blockers in the NBA his entire career, and now in Cleveland, he's shown some three-point range that no one knew he had. As for Hartenstein, when given the opportunity, he's been one of the most unique big men across the league. So things are trending in the upward direction for Cleveland, and you can expect big things from this Cavs core in the coming years. OKC's lost 16 of their last 17 games, but fans have nothing to fear. They have the brightest future in the NBA. Let's not even focus on the 34 draft picks, yes, 34, that Sam Presti stocked up in the next 6 seasons. Let's talk about the young talent they have for the time being. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander might be the most underrated player in the NBA. In just his 3rd season, he's averaging 24 and 5 on 50-40-80 shooting splits. The insane part of his scoring is that he scores 93% of his 2-point shots unassisted and 70% of his threes unassisted. To put that into perspective, MVP James Harden had 92% of his 2s unassisted on. So SGA is creating his shot at a level that we've only seen from the greatest scorers to ever play this game. Yet he's only in his 3rd season. The running back, Lou Dort, is a 6'3", 220-pound shooting guard / small forward who has some serious clamps on the defensive end. As you can see here, he forces King James himself into an airball. In Game 7 of the Thunder's first-round matchup against the Rockets, Dort became the 3rd player under the age of 21 to score 30 points in a Game 7. The only 2 other players to do that are 2 average players, just LeBron James and the late great Kobe Bean Bryant. Against the number 3 ranked defense in the Utah Jazz, Dort put up a career-best 42 points and displayed that his shot creating and 3-point shooting were legit factors to his game. He'll make an all-defensive team this season, but Lou has a ton of two-way potential after Moses Brown.
This is Moses
Brown was called up from the G League for the next month after being brought back. He averaged 11 points and 11 rebounds per game. Brown has come a bit back down to earth since that stretch, but he has a 7'4" wingspan and is still developing at only 21 years of age. The 20-year-old Darius Bazley's been OKC's power forward all year, and he's been a high-volume player who isn't afraid to dunk on you or take a game-winning shot attempt. Once the Thunder draft Cade Cunningham or the core is fully developed, all those players I just mentioned will be the backbone to the Thunder's success, albeit in lesser roles than they're currently in. You can't forget about Aleksej Pokusevski, better known as Poku Poku. People were quick to write Poku off as a bust early in his rookie season, as he didn't look good on either end of the floor. His first 17 games this season, he put up a measly 3 points per game on 25% shooting, and people thought he would be out of the league sooner than later. OKC sent him down to the G League for some development, and by the time they pulled him back up, he was acclimated to the NBA game. Leading up to his injury that kept him sidelined for 3 games, Poku improved all the way up to 13 points per game, along with 6 rebounds and 3 assists, showing off his all-around game and insane potential to be a 1-5 type of player. OKC's future is in the right hands with Sam Presti and his wonderful young players that he secured. For next vid shoutout, which young NBA team has the brightest future in your opinion? I want to know down below. Leave a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm. This was D-Flow, and I'll see you next video.